My name is Jacques Jouffret, and you are listening to the Cinematography Podcast.
The following podcast contains explicit language. You're listening to the Cinematography Podcast presented by Hot Rod Cameras, a program about the art, craft, and philosophy of the moving image and the people who make it happen. Coming to you from the world headquarters of Hot Rod Cameras in Hollywood, California, are your hosts, Ben Rock and Ilya Friedman.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cinematography Podcast. This is Ben Rock with surrogate Ilya Friedman, Kays Alatrachi, the guy who composes all of our music and one of my best friends in the whole world. Kays, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm starting to feel a little bit like, when Jay Leno started appearing more and more on The Tonight Show, when Johnny Carson was still there. Oh, my God, like I'm totally sounding like an old dude now. And it kind of, after a while, you start wondering, is something going on here that I should be aware of?
Yeah. Well, what's going on here is Ilya and I have been doing this for 12 years, and sometimes life gets in the way. So Ilya right now is doing some cool trade stuff in Korea. I believe he's at the NAB of Korea, and doing all kinds of cool stuff. And here we are, just here in boring old LA. I love LA. I'm not complaining about being in LA. I would rather be here than anywhere else. Anyway, but thank you for standing in. And I must take personal exception, because when you stood in for me a few weeks ago, you said you were standing in for the goofier of the two hosts. And now here we are, and I get to look you in the eyes over Zoom and say, I'm the goofier one. Really?
Yeah, but it was with love, and I will always prefer goofy over overly serious.
Oh, so I'm your favorite.
I'm gonna get now I'm gonna get in trouble with Ilya. Great.
Yeah. Clearly, I'm your favorite, so that's all good. So today on the show we have Jacques Jouffret on the show, and he is the DP of American Primeval, currently streaming on Amazon, directed by Peter Berg, and it is freaking brutal. Oh my God. If you like a really bleak, extraordinarily brutal Western, this is an all-you-can-eat buffet of that. I loved it. It's so good. It's so well made. Great cast. What Jacques did just looks amazing. And a lot of it is sort of, to create the level of naturalism that they do still takes a great deal of work. He talks a lot about shooting on often 4 cameras at the same time, which is its own skill. It was great. I was also very excited that he shot The Purge, the original Purge. So we didn't really talk about The Purge. We mostly talked about American Primeval. But if you want to see a super violent, bleak Western with early Mormons as kind of the bad guys, here you go. It's wonderful. It's written by the guy who wrote The Revenant.
That's awesome. I can't wait to hear the interview then.
Yeah, check it out. Let me know what you think. So before we get to that, though, we have our close focus, and as our guest co-host, you suggested something that I actually thought was pretty good. So Ilya, what am I doing? Leave that in, everybody. Leave that in, Charlie. Make me sound like an idiot. So Kays, I'm looking at you. I've known you longer than I've known Ilya. So Kays, what was your suggestion for our close focus today?
So, this is not as closely related to cinematography per se, but it is definitely related to the film industry for sure.
I think it's worth bringing up.
So let me kind of give you guys a little bit of background. So there are several prestigious ways that screenwriters can get their screenplays noticed in this business, and perhaps the most prestigious of them all is called the Nichols Fellowship, which is I kind of tend to call it like the Sundance of screenplay, contests of sorts.
I agree. I would definitely agree with that statement.
It's it can be a career changer if you are a screenwriter who gets to be like one of the winners. I think every year there was like 5 winners, I believe. you will definitely get meetings. You will definitely get your script read.
Even if you're a finalist, or a semi-finalist, that's somewhat prestigious. And it's important to say there are like literally thousands of screenplay competitions, but basically Nichols and the Blacklist are probably the only ones that make that big of a difference in your career, in the same way that there are thousands of film festivals, but like, only like a handful of the Sundance, Tribeca, South by Southwest, Toronto. Like, there's only a handful of festivals that make a big difference for your film, and it's not that the rest aren't worth it, but the rest aren't going to move the needle career-wise as nearly as much. And that's Nichols is like the Oscars and Sundance and the Cannes Film Festival all rolled into one screenplay competition. They've been around for a long time.
Absolutely. So here's where the controversy comes about. Up until this year, you could, enter your screenplay into the Nichols Fellowship competition. You would go to their website, upload your screenplay, pay like a nominal fee. It wasn't terribly expensive, and off you went. And if your screenplay was good enough to get past the initial rounds, you could actually use it to open some doors for yourself. This year, Nichols kind of shocked the whole industry by announcing that they were no longer going to allow people to enter their screenplays through their website. And instead, what they did is they said, we are going to give about I think 24 accredited universities the right to submit one screenplay each from their student bodies, right?
Okay.
And further, they are going to have the Blacklist submit, I think, a total of 25 screenplays. Okay. Now, the Blacklist in turn is allowing as many as 2,500 screenplays to be submitted through their website for this Nichols Fellowship competition. But basically, 25 screenplays out of 2,500 means that that is 1% of all of the screenplays that are getting submitted to the Blacklist that will actually go on to the Nichols Fellowship. Now, keep in mind, this is not winners. These are screenplays that are going to be put into play. So you're going to have about 25 screenplays from the Blacklist and another 25 or so, if I'm correct, from these other universities, for a grand total of 50 screenplays, which is not that many. And out of those, the Nichols will have their readers then kind of filter through, and they're going to have quarterfinals, semifinals, and then finals. And this has a lot of people really upset because they feel that they are kind of sort of being cut out from the opportunity to submit their screenplay directly to the Nichols. And a lot of people are quite upset about it.
Oh, man. Well, yeah, they should be. I mean, it's a move. It's an elitist move. Like, it's basically taking something that was relatively democratic and could benefit somebody who wasn't affiliated with a film school. And didn't you say USC is not even one of those schools? Like, so here's the full list of participants from whom any one of these can send someone to the Nichols. American Film Institute, AFI, Australian Film and Television and Radio School, Bangkok University, Berlin International Film Festival, the Blacklist, CalArts, California State University, Los Angeles, CAPE, don't know what that is, Chapman University, Columbia University, Edinburgh Napier University, Goldhouse, Howard University, IFFR Pro, Latino Film Institute, London Film School, Loyola Marymount University, New York University, Northwestern University, RMIT University, Savannah College of Art and Design, Sundance Institute, Toronto International Film Festival, Toronto Metropolitan University, Universidad del Cine, University of Arts London, University of California, Los Angeles, University of Cape Town, University of North Carolina School of the Arts, University of Oxford, University of Texas at Austin, Urban World Festival, Victoria University of Wellington. But yeah, interestingly, places like USC, not on that list. And it seems like kind of a random sampling of universities and universities, film festivals, and film organizations that are doing it. Not a bad list of universities. SCAD, University Savannah College of Art and Design, great school. I don't know that I would put that above USC. Maybe USC chose to not participate. I don't know.
I mean, essentially, what I get out of it is that Nichols is saying, "Look, we just don't have the bandwidth to read and and do justice to what is literally thousands of screenplays that get submitted." So they're just kind of handing off. They're outsourcing, the screenplay, the primary filtering to other places, and then they're saying, "Just send us your best." So there's a logic there.
No, but what it does is it throws gatekeepers. It takes a democratic process and puts gatekeepers between everyday people. And what I would love from a Nichols Fellowship kind of place is that, like, literally anyone anywhere who got a hold of Robert McKee's book or whatever, or is just an autodidact at screenwriting, could write a screenplay, submit it, and get through. And I don't have a full list of Nichols, but I wonder how many Nichols Fellows would not have gotten submitted if it were through this process. Like, how many successful screenwriters would have been stopped before they got this far?
Yes, I mean, there could be a net loss of that, those types of writers that either are not in one of those schools or they get kind of lost in the shuffle in this blacklist because, as I said, out of 2,500 submissions on the blacklist, only 25 will go on to the Nichols. So I don't know. We'll see what happens, but a lot of people are upset. A lot of writers think that this is unfair and that Nichols should go back to just having open submissions like they used to. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure I heard John August and Craig Mazin complaining about this on Script Notes a couple weeks ago when it was first announced. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a problem because we don't want the Nichols to go from being the Sundance of screenplay competitions to the Golden Globes.
Right. Unless somebody else steps up to the plate and comes up with another bigger and better competition. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem is this kind of thing is an institution. It doesn't grow on trees. Even if you decided to start your own Nichols Fellowship level thing, how would you, how do you get it going? How do you make it as influential as Nichols is? It would be better if they just let someone else run Nichols, but also I feel like a lot of these institutions can be self-correcting and, there will be a year like this and there's already pushback from the professional community. So hopefully, they'll right the ship next year. I don't know. Better luck next year, screenwriters.
I will say this as a closing thought on this. I would prefer to have real readers that are actually reading the screenplays and perhaps have, more limited entry slots rather than for some of these competitions to start outsourcing to AI to actually be the first readers on the script.
Yeah.
Because I think that could be really, really messy. So
yeah, no one's okay with that either. What's wrong? Are interns too expensive? I mean, come on. Oh, dear Lord. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get to our interview with Jacques Jouffret.
The Cinematography Podcast interview.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate it. American Primeval is quite an experience. I was humorously thinking stop making the West seem so glamorous. It's the possibly next to Deadwood, one of the grimiest, dirtiest, smelliest old Wests I've ever seen. It's so thick with atmosphere and so beautiful in the way you captured it. So I know that you've worked with Peter Berg in the past, but tell me about how the project came about, how it was presented to you, and sort of your initial instincts of how to create the visual image that you guys went on to create.
Well, the job was presented to me by me getting a phone call from Pete Berg telling me, "Where are you? What are you doing?" And I say, "Well, I just got back from Europe." And I say, "Okay, just come over and I've got this project." And that's basically the way it started. And as you mentioned before, yes, I've done I think this is my fifth or sixth project with Pete. So we've known each other quite well. And pre-project with him as a camera operator before move up to a DP, and so that's basically the way it worked out. And for a while, I was concerned that I may not be able to do it because I was in Europe shooting. I think I was shooting Gran Turismo at the time.
Oh wow!
Maybe the timing and the scheduling was not going to work, but it ended up working quite well. And so basically, I went from there directly to American Primeval.
So, obviously here we talk to a lot of DPs who shoot television, and, there's a lot of instances where, it's like two shooters or more on a given series, even a series like, we talked to the people behind the new Daredevil, there are two DPs on that, but this is 6 hours, basically, one director, one DP on the whole thing. So is it more like shooting a 6 hour long movie, or is it scheduled more like television? Like what's the workload on you? How from the moment you say yes, how long are you on this project full time?
So for Pete and I, it's just shooting one movie that is 6 hour long. And that's the way Pete likes to work. So it felt normal to me and to him. I don't think there was any other way of going about it. And I've done most of my career in film, in feature, not too much in TV. But the only TV show that I did is Jack Ryan, season 3 and season 4, where you are in the situation that you just described.
Yeah, you're
one or two DP, and I don't care much about that format. So this one, it turned out this way, and it was never a question to do it any other way. In terms of the workload, it's just like just like a big movie, except it's 6 hours of footage that needs to be created.
Yeah, and it's intense. It's very intense. It's thick with atmosphere, and also this is just me supposing, looking at it as a viewer from the outside. It's like you got nowhere to hide. Like I look at some of your other work, like the Purge movies or whatever, where it's like very stylish and stylized with the lighting and stuff like this. And this is so naturalistic. Everything, it feels almost like you are creating a feel of natural light. I don't know how much actual light you're pumping into it. And moreover, there's like it's like kind of a cloudy atmosphere. There's fog, there's smoke. Like it feels very thick. Like I can smell it. Like, how do you go? I mean, creating any vibe like that is its own unique challenge. How did you go about like kind of setting that, or, cause I mean, there are plenty of very stylized Westerns. We could go to Sergio Leone or Clint Eastwood or tons of people who've gone very stylized. And it's not that this isn't stylized, but the style is so gritty and naturalistic. How do you go about creating that?
So that was really a lot of hard work. And you're absolutely right in your description. But we wanted, and Pete wanted it hard. He wanted no flourish. He wanted the audience to feel the difficulty of living in that period. He wanted to feel the dirt and the dust and the grime and the ugliness of it and the violence of it. And I tried to go into that spirit. I think it's a winter show. So my job was to really make the audience sense that coldness, the feel that you are open to the element, days in, night out. And so I use multiple things. And, you have atmosphere, constantly something in the air. That was one way of going about it. The other thing that I did is this constant Dutching.
I was going to ask you about that. I was like, wow, this is like very The Third Man kind of. There's a lot of Dutching.
That we are entering a trek, a journey where nothing is settled. A civilization, a new world is coming upon us, but all the foundation of it is very scary, very sketchy, and each one as a part of it, and each one's from the Mormon, to the pioneer, to the Indian, they have a stake in it, but everything can fall apart at any moment. So that was very much, my approach to it. And for Pete, I think the one thing he mentioned to me is I want to be with the cast, I want to be with the character all the time. Mm-hmm. So that was, and I want to capture as much visually the environment and them in that environment. So that explained the wide shot, the wide angle lenses. and very close to the characters. They are either on a horse or on the foot or on their or crawling on the dirt on the land. So that was very much the approach that we use for American Primeval, and this is connected to very specific moment when we are next to this wide angle shot close to the characters. It's always cut with very long lenses, focal length, with very much intimate moment when we are with them, and a moment when there is a moment of reflection of what is going on in their mind, in their heart at that specific moment.
Yeah, and it's something I've actually always noticed about Peter Berg's work, whether we're talking about even going all the way back to The Rundown or Hancock or Friday Night Lights, that he does, and it's kind of what you described a little bit there too. He does kind of like a mix of like, he'll give you like a beautiful vista shot, like sometimes like a beautiful dolly, crane, whatever, and then cuts into handheld, like, you know, kind of gritty, not shaky cam level, not like Paul Greengrass, but like very, you're right there with the people kind of handheld. Now, what lenses did you find were like the most useful lenses for cutting? When you say like long lens for the close-ups and stuff, like what were there specific kinds of lenses that you preferred, or you know, what were the focal lengths you found yourself living on?
So I think the standard setup was usually 4 cameras going at the same time.
Oh, wow.
You had 2 cameras handheld. You had 2 cameras on tripod. 2 camera handheld were on wide shots, wide lenses. The 2 camera on the tripod were on the long lens. So 1 camera on the tripod was on the 12:1 engineer, the Ultra 12:1. That's a 36 to 435 millimeter lens. Then next to it, you had another long lens, you know, which was usually the 50 to 300. Then you had the 2 cameras, A and B cameras. The A camera, most of the time, had 18 millimeter Sphero 65 Panavision lens, and or a 15 to 30 zoom. And then you had the B camera next to it. Most of the time, you had a 30 to 80 millimeter zoom on it.
And like when you say zoom, like were you like what were the focal lengths you were tending to zoom in between?
30 to 80 on the wide, always on the wide, and on the long lens, the super long lens, all the way in the 300 to 400 millimeter.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
There was very little, if you look at it, there is very little medium shot. It's a lot of wide shot, a lot of long lens, and cut in between. And the reason why, I just wanted to replicate the extreme element. There is nothing medium in this. It's super cold or it's super hot. It's super wide or it's super tight. There is nothing in the middle much.
I forget who it was who said that like medium shots aren't cinema. I forget who, you know, it's like, you know, getting in tight with actors and like really, and I don't necessarily agree with that all the time, but.
I don't agree. I've got another one, you know, if you're interested. I say medium shot is saying to the world that you have no personality.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's the same idea. It's not true, but you know.
I mean, sometimes it's the best thing to do. Sometimes it's what you have to do to get the idea across. But you know,
just you are constantly between those two extremes, and the moment of peace and then extreme violence. It's always a land of extreme, and this journey is very much, they're going into this trek, and at one moment they're losing consciousness. I wanted them to, everything becomes a little bit surreal. And you get a sense of that when, for example, the aunt character, when he wakes up after he's been scalped, and he wakes up into the land, and he's looking, and the sun is very harsh, and he's dehydrated, and everything is moving a little bit. I wanted to get that sense going during this entire journey that our characters were going to go through, and that was very much the idea with Pete.
No, that totally makes sense. And again, I feel like it feels very much like the kind of style I see him go for a lot. That kind of like you're right in there with everybody.
Yeah, and with Pete, I'll call it, it's a it's a very stylized documentary feel. So
Yeah.
the approach is very much documentary-like. But at the same time, the camera position, at the same time, the contrast, the feel, the color, the lighting is a little bit more elaborated. So it's those two elements that works in contradiction to one another. So you have the handheld or the floaty camera, the angle, but at the same time, the feel is a little bit more worked on and a little bit more elaborated. So you have this contradiction playing all the time.
I know that you have a background as a Steadicam op and as a camera operator. Are you operating one of the cameras, or, with 4 cameras, are you standing back and supervising all 4?
Yes, I stopped operating, it's not possible for me to be on one camera and looking at all.
Yeah, I always wonder.
Like that, I think I stopped it took me a while to stop operating. I think this is my 4th or 5th project where I'm not operating.
So
I'm fortunate to have incredible operators.
But the reason I'm kind of asking about that is, like, I'm wondering about sort of the dance of the blocking and how you work, how you and Pete work to kind of create the blocking of the actors and the camera. Does he block the actors and then you find the shots inside of their blocking, or do you guys spend a lot of time in prep kind of figuring out where you're going to put, because like even just the logistical considerations that go into where are we going to put 4 cameras in this scene if we're going to shoot everything on 4 cameras, like how much of that are you working out ahead of time, because there really is such an aliveness and a spontaneity to the work.
So because I've worked with Pete for quite some time, so we don't talk too much about that. I know what he wants, and I know what I need to do. Like he will tell me the direction, like I just described to you, Jacques. I want to be very close. I want to be wide. But the one thing that is very important to remember with Pete, he used to be an actor, director. So the most important things for him is the performance and catching the performance. And so all the work that I do is to make sure that I give him the opportunity to do that for him and to his cast, and not be in the way with all my machine and all my cameras and my equipment and the lighting. And so I spend a lot of time figuring out, where I'm going to put the cameras that I'm going to propose to him. And then he's going to take over. So I usually, we look at the scene, we know the location, I know the scene. I don't know exactly what the actors are going to do, but I know that it's going to be somewhere over there. I know there is a river. I know there is some moment taking place by the river. I know that one of them at one moment is going to go and ride on a horse.
Yeah.
And I go there and I say, okay, we should be looking at direction, and I place the camera. And then Pete comes in and then he takes over. And he say, okay, what you got for me? And I tell him, I got this. I say, okay. And then that's the beauty of working with Pete. Then he starts working with the actors. And then things change. And then he starts placing the camera from him. And and a lot of the time, the operators know what to do. And he will direct them, and he will direct the actors as well. And let's say, for example, there is a scene that's supposed to take place around a fire camp, and then suddenly, no, let's go to the river. Let's do that again there. And I think he wants that spontaneity, and he wants, to be able to do that, and for the actors to find the scene. And from us on the camera side and lighting side is to make sure that whatever it is that's going to happen, we have something happening. We are there to catch the action. We are to catch the performance. So that's the way it works in big stroke a little bit.
One thing I kept thinking about while I was watching the show was it's overcast in virtually every scene, and it couldn't have been overcast everywhere you shot it unless you had the best luck of all time. How do you make it look overcast? I assume that there might be some visual effects, sky replacement or something, because there are all these vista shots where you see the sky, but you have all these scenes and it's always overcast. It always looks kind of oppressively overcast, really.
Yeah, so that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do on the show, to give it that sense of overcast, and it was not. There's a lot, we shot we started in the winter and we finished in summertime. So that was basically the most difficult part, is to stay consistent, lighting-wise, and mood-wise.
Like, how do you, I mean, I was watching it kind of getting stressed out. Like, how would you do it in these, like, these big scenes where like everyone gets rated and it's a huge wide, all these massive wide shots and stuff like that. Like, how do you do it?
So you will see I use plenty of things. For example, I told you about the Dutch.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, the Dutch don't show me the sky.
Ah.
It works both ways. At the same time, they give me that sense, this is a world, there is no foundation, but at the same time, they don't frame this over there, just hide it over there. This way we don't see that it's a blue sky.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that I mentioned to to my operators, don't show me the sky.
But you see it in a lot of shots.
You see it, and every time I'm lucky to be overcast, show it to me.
Ah.
If you can, okay, avoid it as much as you can. So that's the discipline that we had. So, and the key is I had to be consistent because I started during the wintertime. Okay, it's overcast. It needs to be an overcast show. It's a winter show. It's a snow show. So, but I know we're going to finish in July, in August. Okay, so now I got to create a language that I'm going to be able to control that.
Yeah.
In later on, I was very fortunate, that the weather changed all the time. Every 5 minutes, the weather changed, and I was very fortunate that Pete, let's say we're shooting a scene and it's sunny, and we shot the first part and it's overcast. So I would use those tricks. I would put either silk. I'd say, let's do it under a tree. Let's not show the sky during that moment. Anything that I can do to not having to show the sky. And then the moment, it's getting overcast again, I say, Pete, can we do a wide shot again?
Oh, okay.
And say, okay, let's do a wide shot. This way, at least you have a way, just even if it's for 4 seconds, just the opening.
Yeah.
Time, if I know we're going to be overcast, let's do the close-up first. Let's do the wide after, or vice versa, depending on where.
Where were you shooting for the most part?
New Mexico, about an hour and a half from Santa Fe.
Yeah, New Mexico, not exactly known to be the most overcast place in the planet, especially during summer.
And up on about an elevation about 9,000 feet up in the Native Indian Reservation.
Oh, wow.
So pretty high up.
Wow. This is a question I've never asked anyone. Did that make it harder for everyone to breathe? Like, was there like a stamina problem with your crew up at the top of the mountain where there's less oxygen?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you do about that?
Particularly at night, all the night work at that elevation, very difficult. The lighting job, very, very difficult. It was a very difficult show to do.
Yeah, I was reading online that it was like a super grueling show, and then like at the very end, you did like 3 weeks on a soundstage, and
we did 3 days.
3 days on a soundstage?
Yes, there is some shot that we did in the cabin that we did on stage. Otherwise, everything else, it was outside.
That's crazy. So I'm imagining like all those homes and cabins and tents and everything you guys built, and we're just kind of living with the elements.
That's right. Fort Bridger, all the tent, all the Indian camp, everything was done by the production, and that's the way Pete likes to shoot. He likes to shoot on location, not on stage, and that was the case for that project.
Well, and a lot of times if you're doing a show that has like a lot of exteriors, you would have a cover set so that like...
We didn't have any cover set, and we had to shoot.
Really? Did you ever get like rained out or snowed out or any of those things?
Rained out, we got snow, we got everything, but it's a mini-series, you have to shoot.
So what do? You just kind of just power through it?
You power through it, you get your crew, block this, don't show this, let's get over there, let's start in that direction, let's go in that direction, everything you can do to keep it. And that's the key. That was the hardest part for my job, is to stay consistent every day. I'm praying to the God of weather, please, overcast, to the point that the entire crew was rooting for me. It's going to be okay, Jack. We're going to make it. It's going to be overcast this morning. And I said, okay, let's shoot this. And Pete is so generous in that way. Okay, let's see. Yeah, why don't we start this way, and this way? I say, okay, let's do that.
So like in the whole show, if I see like a big wide shot that's overcast, that was literally you just waited till you got an overcast moment that day. And
I got lucky and I had a couple of hours. And so I say, usually if that happened, I would say all the cameras wide as you can. And let's catch as much. And then I would go directly, okay, it's funny, block it, use the back of the horse, to block that blue sky over there, cover anything they can do camera-wise. So it's a very much shooting exterior there to me is very much camera placement about everything else.
Yeah.
Placement. And then from the camera, how much can you get for the biggest bang for the buck lighting-wise you can get with the tools that you have for the longest period of time, even if that longest period of time is maybe 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, it's going to change and you're going to have to do something else.
Wow, that's got to keep you on your toes. That's crazy. Like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's amazing to kind of look at something that feels as complete and cohesive, and think that like you were just sort of at the peril of the elements. But
it's interesting you saying that. I know that I think there is a quote by Stanley Kubrick that I use all the time. I don't know if it's Stanley Kubrick, but someone told me it was. He said, visually, you need 5 strong visual ideas. Have 5 strong visual ideas and repeat them over and over and over and be consistent with them. Super wide shot, very close to your actors. The Dutching camera, find the angle that you want. Put as much visual information to the audience as much as you can. If you need to Dutch it to include that element or that, do it. Very strong, long lenses, long focal lengths that basically compress, which let you be with your character at this moment, compared to the wide shot when everything is in focus, everything is wide, and you're constantly going back and forth. And then once you have those 4 or 5 ideas, repeat them over and over again. That's basically what was my idea, my concept.
That's interesting. So do you do that on all your shows? I
usually try to find, I said it before, what is the director process, how he or she likes to shoot, how he or she likes to work with the actors, how he or she likes to work with the camera. Are they interested in the camera or not? Are they more into the visual or more into the performance or both? And then I try to find, depending on the project, what style do you want? What are the toys? What's going to be our toys inside the sandbox? Are we going to shoot dolly? Are we going to be handheld? Are we going to do both? It's going to be slow shot, or is it going to be fast? What is it? Is it going to be crane, or is whatever it is that you want in that sandbox that we are all going to play with, and that's going to be the style of the style and the language of our project. And so as soon as I've got that information, then I start to create a visual style. Okay, this is what we can accomplish. This is what we can do. And of course, you connect that with what production gives you from a budget standpoint.
Yeah.
Time that we have, how much time do I have? And what are the limits of what I can or cannot do? And then you try to find the place where everything, all those elements meets, and then you move forward with that.
So that's really interesting. And I'm always interested in how people organize those kinds of thoughts. So, you say that, you and Peter Berg have kind of a shorthand with each other, and he kind of, delegates a lot of the coveragey stuff to you to then present to him for his approval. How do you have a process? Like, do you have a notebook or a scriptation, or how do you kind of organize your thoughts, especially when you're making something like this, which is kind of a 6-hour long monster? And I'm assuming, since you say you shot it kind of like one 6-hour movie, you might be shooting something for episode 1 at the end of the shoot, and you're shooting for stuff on episode 6 at the beginning of the shoot, and you have to keep in mind the visual arc that you've created, or even just geographically where we are. If you're in Santa Fe, but you're trying to make it look like Utah, and obviously you've color-coded stuff. Some stuff feels a little cooler, some stuff feels a little warmer. How do you keep all those thoughts in your head so that on a day-to-day basis you can access it?
So, because I was a camera operator for so many years, I think I look at it from that point of view. And I think the one thing that I've constantly asked myself as a camera operator is tell the story. Does this shot tells the story that the director wants me to tell?
Mm-hmm.
And I start with that. So it's very much going in, okay, with this shot, with this scene to tell the story, I'm going to need this, this, and this, and that. What is specific to that character? This is specific to that character. So I'm going to use that tool mostly for that character to tell that story. And then you go with each character, and then you give them some kind of identity on the way you go about it for each of them that they need, depending on the journey that they're going, emotionally or physical, in terms of working. And then you place this, and then when I've got, and this is my wish list, and then I go to the hard reality of what production is going to let us do, and the time that I'm going to have to do it. And then I'm going to try to see if those two realities meet.
Yeah.
I think the fact, that I was a camera operator for so long, I have a pretty good idea of what you can achieve in 10 or 12 hours with the tools that I'm deciding to do. So it's a constant, I could do this shot. I would be able to do this. I can use it as a techno crane. Okay, it's going to take me 20 to 30 minutes to set it up. I'm going to take me to have the time to do that or not. Maybe I should use a different shot, a different tool. So I go through a lot of that to set up the way that I can achieve, what I need to achieve by deciding which tool I'm going to use, how much I can use it, what can I achieve, the kind of coverage that I can get for each one.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, but where do you keep that? How do you reference it, or is it all in your head when you're working?
In my head.
So for a whole 6-hour show like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know pretty much, okay, this happening, this. Okay, and you try to be very and then you stay very consistent to what you have done before, and then I'm going to keep doing this.
Wow, because it just seems like such a monster project to kind of hold us.
And it's better to do one step at a time. Don't look too much. Don't look too much at the scope of what you are trying to do, but give you enough exit ramp. Okay, if this happens, a lot of the time, there is a rewrite. So the scene that we shot, 3 months ago, and now there is that aspect. They changed this, and I need to do the final piece of that that's going to connect to this scene. Okay, It's completely different. And they changed it, so my original plan doesn't work. So, okay, I've got to come up with a different way to handle that. And so there's quite a bit of that as well that comes to play.
Let's talk a little bit about the action scenes in this movie, because they are just insane, and you're right in the middle of them. And a lot of times they are an ambush, like they're a surprise that comes out of nowhere. So how do you what are your thoughts about setting up kind of that expectation of basically getting us as an audience to relax and not expect violence, then to have it erupt into some of the most intense violence? And I don't think any of them that I saw were oneers, but a lot of them feel like they are stitching together whip pans to make it feel like one continuous thing, at least.
Well, there's one, obviously the first one, there's that one, about the Meadow Massacre.
Yeah.
Very much, this is the way Pete wanted it. And this is the way the stunt team rehearsed it. And we rehearsed it, and that's a good example for what we did. Amazing stunt team. And what I usually do is I usually try to involve the camera operator with the stunt team to get in to see exactly the way they're going to go about it, and to learn from each other and how the camera can help them.
Yeah. How
they can help the camera. And then so we rehearse it, and every time we improve it with the input of the camera operators. Okay, so you're going to have the time, you're going to need to have those horses coming in, but you're not going to have the time. Okay, so you know what, when I do this, I'm going to go this way, I'm going to point that for half a second, and then I will pan this way. So there's a lot of that happening. And then in terms of the violence, the one thing that is true to violence is that usually when it happens, it comes in full surprise, in full second. There is not much of a premonition of it. There is not much of a things to tell them. You could, and bang, the perfect example is the first episode when she finally arrived at Fort Bridger, and then there is a guy who turned and then pulled the gun and shoot that person dead.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, you realize, okay, this is a completely crazy world. But at the same time, even today's violence is very much like that. It's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So we try to get there. We try to plan, but then Pete managed to do it when he directs, to give you that sense that anything can happen at any moment. And he's a great director that way.
Well, the action scenes are just intense. When you're talking about the stunt team, how many stuntmen are involved in? I mean, like those scenes, some of them, it's like a giant encampment of people being attacked by multiple people.
Huge team, and Jeff and his teams are incredible guys, and doing it over and over again, and always presenting idea and coordinate with the operating, with the camera work, and to find the best way to help each other, and Pete give them direction and constantly more faster, more brutal. And we were always concerned, that we were going to be too brutal, that it was too violent. But yet, we had a consultant with us, and she would always tell us, "You're not even close to our
really, really."
Yeah.
Because the violence is like it's not like a fun Marvel movie violence, like excitement. It's like as a viewer you feel like an arrow might come right out of the TV and hit you in the face. Like it just feels
right. And Pete didn't want to sugarcoat it, and he really wanted to show the reality. And that's the one thing that I love working with Pete. It's always let's make it real.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like about filmmaking. To give the audience that this is real. You are watching something that is extremely real right there, and I'm able to suspend their disbelief. And so that's really always the approach. Make it as real as we can, and yet at the same time, I'm giving it some style to present more the emotion of it, more what is the mood, the atmosphere, where I want the audience to lead.
So, like, I mean, obviously you can't go like with colorful lights or any, like you're not really going with stylized lighting per se, or lighting that looks stylized. So where is the room for you?
It's stylized, but it looks, but I try, it's not with any fancy thing.
Yeah.
It's right, it's a two different way. For example, say, I'm going to try to make a beautiful shot, and I'm going to do this to do the beautiful shot. My way of working is more, okay, I want to make it beautiful, but I want to find it there.
Yeah.
What do I need to find? Oh, this is interesting over here.
So is it more about finding the right compositions?
It's composition. It's a combination of composition, lighting. It's a combination as well of what the actors are doing. Mm-hmm. Instead of me trying to manufacture something that subjectively I say it's beautiful, let me find it there. Let me see what I can do. Oh, look at that. She is on the ground and she's leaning towards him. And I say, instead of being here, if I'm right there, I get this little depth over here. And maybe if I go over here, there's a little shadow coming. Anything that can happen. And then you have, let's say there's some movement in the background. So it's trying to find it and to on the spot. So you're crossing your finger instead of let me put this, let me do this, let me there. The elements are there, but then it's just a question of massaging it and just find it. And it's always more interesting when you find something that surprises yourself. Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. I never thought of that. I would never have liked it that way.
Yeah, that's so cool. Now is part of that too, like when you say you're often shooting on 4 cameras, so that means one lighting setup has to service 4 different vantage points. Is that part of the bargain you're making with yourself there to get those 4 angles, but you're going to have to fiddle till you get the 4 exact shots.
Correct, and it's not easy. You have 4 cameras, and you want each 4 camera to look great.
Yeah,
and each camera has a different job, and each camera. So you're not doing what the A camera is doing is not what the D camera is doing. You are not going after the same shot.
Yeah,
and you find the beauty of the first A and the D camera is not going to be the same as the B and the C and the D, and that's the tricky part. And I think maybe my experience as being a camera operator for 20 years in my career, I am much more, I come from cinematography, from camera placement first.
Yeah.
And then lighting second. And each one has their own, but usually, okay, where can I place the camera that first tells me the story, give as much freedom to the actors and to my director, and at the same time, I can tell as much story as possible and making look beautiful.
Do you ever have a moment where like you've got your 4 cameras set up and A camera is supposed to be the close-up, for instance, and then you go like, C camera actually has a better close-up. A camera, go to the hands. Do you ever swap it around?
No, really. Usually they are very much in my mind a very specific shot to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the time, for example, the long lens and the long lens are not on the main characters.
Yeah,
probably on the secondary character. Usually they are about 90 degrees perpendicular to the A camera. So which means if the camera is shooting this way, the B camera, the D camera is shooting that direction. So you're looking at very different variable and and sometimes then Pete can do the difference. He said, D camera, go on the main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we want. We want to find a spontaneity. And we don't want the cardinal scene. It should not look staged.
Yeah.
We want to make it look like it just happened. And anything that can change that. So it's basically, yes, it's staged. Yes, we have a pretty good idea where we're going to go, but at the same time, anything can happen. And Matt and Pete is the one directing all of that. And the key is, and I think Pete told me one day, today's audience is so sophisticated that they know so well what's going to happen. And what we want to do with our coverage is that every shot, every cut is a surprise.
Yeah.
So your wide shot, okay, it's going to go wide shot on that side. Or medium shot, okay, it's going to cut to medium shot. And what we try to do is to always surprise in the edit. And for me, as a DP, my job is to provide the editors, the coverage that they need to always find a different way to tell the story.
Interesting. Can we talk a little bit about sort of how you went about sort of maybe I'm overstating color coding, but there was like there's a color signature that I noticed on specific locations and stuff like that. Like, how did you go about kind of building that, and how do you is that mostly a post thing, or is that something that you're lighting for on? I mean, obviously, if you're making it look like dusty Utah versus snowy night, like you're gonna be doing some different color stuff in camera. But like, how much of that is in camera and how much of that is in the grade?
The one thing that one has to remember, and I had a conversation once and with my DIT, the one thing is that a lot of it has to do with what the costume design and the production design has done.
Mm-hmm.
So, you find, the palette, to be desaturated and the colors muted. And actually, I didn't do much in that because all the costume, it's either black, it's either gray,
mm-hmm.
it's very little color already that you're dealing with, just because of the color of the time. There is not like the print and the things that we have today in terms of color.
Yeah.
And second thing is, you're starting with the wintertime, you have that very cold, frigid atmosphere. So there is very little that I did in the grade to keep a much more desaturated look. That is not actually, when I will look at my DIT, it is not that desaturated that much, but it's just the nature of what is in front of the lens and the fact, that there is at the time very little color except black, gray, brown.
Mm.
But that's what I wanted. So I helped it out, help a little bit, in the grade, but on camera when we're shooting. And when you look at my stills, my dailies, to the movie, to when it comes out, it's pretty much not much difference between the two.
That's good to hear. I mean, I feel like we can always overcook stuff in post, that
is very true. And I think that's something that I'm constantly battling, is that we have too much control. There's a few scenes where I pushed it a little bit more on camera, on the set, And it's when I felt, this is a moment, when the character, the world is become a little bit surreal, where it becomes a little bit crazy, when it's basically he or she is losing their mind. The sun is a little too hot. They are dehydrated. And for example, I'm thinking about the aftermath of the massacre when, after him being scalped, he's waking up and everything is moving around a little bit. And so here I increase a little bit the color, a little bit more blue, a little bit more dark. So there is those moments when they go into this journey. I was thinking a lot about Apocalypse Now when we were doing this, and Coppola.
I can see that.
Those flare, when yes, we are in wartime and it's Vietnam and it's warfare, but I'm surfing, I'm playing with the there's that aspect of it. There's certain scenes, that lend to that. And that's when I pushed it a little bit, being even wider, even closer, even more Dutch, and the colors a little bit more desaturated.
Are there any other, major influences visually, like other films, Westerns, non-Westerns? I mean, Apocalypse Now is so wonderful.
So Pete, definitely Jeremiah Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really the main reference from Peter Berg. And you could see the character of the Robert Redford character in Jeremiah Johnson. For us, Sarah was all Jeremiah Johnson.
Huh.
Basically, she's the fish out of water. She's coming in. She needs to meet her husband. She's going to cross this territory for the first time.
Yeah.
She doesn't know. So that was very much the main idea. On my side, it was McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
Oh, yeah. The Altman movie, right?
All the Fort Bridger, the dirt, the grime, the cold, that very much come from that. And I tried to blend those two. And then the other movie that I thought a lot about is Days of Heaven.
Malick.
Almendros, and his decision not to feel, just to play the key light and not to constantly feel and let things go dark. And I try to do the same thing. I try to hold myself, don't feel, just let it.
I noticed that, much like the shot that I'm looking at you on Zoom, the sun was always right behind people, and we were on the dark side of the sun.
Always on the dark side. Always place the camera on the dark side. No, don't push, feel. So it was constantly a decision between me and my gaffer. Should we feel? Should we not feel? And but trying to just let it play naturally what he would do, and instead of sometimes finding the solution with lighting, let's see if we can find solution with a camera placement. So we were always playing with those two. So I always had 2 or 3 electricians. One will have some light, another one will have some feel. We'll have some negative feel on the other side. And I was constantly juggling on the radio. Give me a little bit more of that. Give me a little bit more of this. This is too dark. Get some feel over there. So there was really very constantly moving everybody on, all hands on deck, constantly seeing, and me at the DIT and seeing, okay, no, you need more of this and so forth.
Amazing. Well, we're up against time here, so I'll let you go. But it's really great to meet you. And reminder to our listeners, check it out. It's American Primeval. It's currently on Netflix. Looks amazing. It's extremely brutal. So be ready. Strap in. It's a wild ride. All right.
Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Jacques. It's great to meet you. All right, so that was Jacques Jouffret. Jacques, thank you so much for coming on the show. Everybody, please check out American Primeval, currently on Netflix. It is 6 episodes of extremely bleak, brutal Western, and I loved it. So if me liking stuff has ever sparked anything in you, definitely check it out.
And now, short ends.
So now is the time, Kays, where we do our short ends, our pet obsession of the week. And I just want to warn everyone, mine is super goofy and it couldn't be more Gen X if it tried. What is your pet obsession of the week?
My pet obsession of the week actually comes from you.
Oh, no.
Okay, so unfortunately, recently Val Kilmer passed away, which was a great loss in the acting world and in the film world.
Yeah.
And and people started kind of making like kind of like their favorite lists of Val Kilmer movies, and I believe you made one, and I spotted a movie that I never seen Val Kilmer in, which was Salt and Sea, and it kind of got me curious about this movie. It's like it completely went way under my radar. I had no idea that
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good movie.
it's a really good movie, and I looked it up and I found it streaming, and I was like, okay, like time to watch this movie and see what this is all about. Now, I love the movie. It's kind of got like this interesting like kind of film noir. It's like it's its own beast. It's like really
Yeah.
really difficult to kind of catalog exactly. I think Val Kilmer is fantastic in it. There's other notable actors like Vincent D'Onofrio and I think Peter Skarsgård. Um, One of the things that kind of caught me a little bit off guard because a couple of years ago I shot a music video and we shot it at Salton Sea. So I was there, and the place was just kind of this hellish landscape. I mean,
Well, yeah, describe Salton Sea to people who are unfamiliar with it, because it's got like a super weird history.
yeah, it's a really weird history because it started out being this natural lake in. Well, actually, I shouldn't say natural lake. I think it was artificially formed from different ways that they routed water around California, and there was this kind of big basin that filled out with water. And for a while, it was actually a resort. There were actually hotels that you could go and stay there, and it was like this kind of pleasant, beachside lake, literally like in the middle of California, nowhere close to the ocean or anything like that. And then my understanding is that throughout the years, because of the use of like chemical agents and pesticides and all of the farm water basically kind of going into the lake got polluted. And all of a sudden it started like killing all of the forms of life, all the fish, the birds that were like unfortunate enough for like drinking the water. And and obviously it was no longer functioning as a resort place, and it became abandoned. And now there's literally like the skeletons of what used to be this little resort villages around the lake, and it looks like a post-apocalyptic landscape. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
And you walk onto the beach, and the beach is basically covered with fish bones and bird carcasses.
Oh
And
my God.
it literally like
And
it looks like you just kind of step.
How bad does it smell? What's the smell like at Salton
Oh my
Sea?
God, it was. I mean, when we shot there, which was it was around like this time, so it wasn't like kind of heavy in the summer. I remember it being like crazy hot because like you're literally like in the middle of the state. You're kind of isolated from any sort of ocean breeze or anything like that, and the smell was just it smelled like death.
Nice.
It's the best way I can put it. It smelled like death. It looked like death. It reads wonderfully on film. I mean, it's just like very cinematic of a landscape. So I mean, I really loved shooting there. But as far as the kind of place that you would want to hang out in, no, definitely not. But the funny thing is, like, as I was watching the movie kind of sort of seems to like portray it as like this kind of romantic destination. I mean,
Yeah.
Val Kilmer's character with his wife, and they're kind of having this like beautiful romantic moment on the beach. And I was looking at it, I was like, I believe like the movie was shot like in 2006. So like, it was well, like, in death mode by then. And I was like, there is no way that anybody would just want to lay down on the beach and just kind of make out like they're doing the movie, because it's, yeah. But the movie's good. So that's, that's my shorthand this week. Definitely check it out. I mean, I think it's a great movie. I think, if you're like me, it probably flew under the radar when it first came out.
Yeah. It didn't get a big release.
It did not get a big release, unfortunately. But I mean, it's beautiful. The cinematography is beautiful.
I love the way it
acting
looks.
is like, Yeah, like the acting is top notch. The story is compelling. I really can't say enough good things about it. So, go find it and watch it. I think
Where did you find it streaming? Do you remember?
I think it was like on Amazon Prime.
Oh, cool. Very cool. So I'm going to wind the clock back for my short end. Actually, before I even get into my short end, on my list of, I just want to say this, on my list of favorite Val Kilmer movies, number one is a movie that very few people saw, but I love it and I've seen it many times. It's a movie that David Mamet made called Spartan. And I freaking love that movie. And I know David Mamet can be problematic for people of my ideology in particular. But man, oh man, it's the Mametiest script that ever Mameted. And Val Kilmer is just unbelievably good in that movie. It's got a great cast. It's got like William H. Macy. It's got young Kristen Bell. It's got Derek Luke is in that movie. It's just top to bottom. I just love that movie. I've seen it many times. I think I own it on DVD. That's how much I love it. So, you ready? I'm almost biting my lip. I'm afraid to say what my short end is, but I'm going to go ahead and say it.
I am dying to find out. I think it's going to be really great.
It's a band. It's a band from the 90s, and you've definitely heard of them. They're called Chumbawamba. So I'm going to flash back to 1997, late summer, early fall of 1997. They had a big hit that was just on the radio nonstop. It was called Tub Thumping. I get knocked down, but I get up again, blah, blah, blah. Right? So I have a friend who you probably know named JJ Mays, and JJ hates that song. And so we're theater buddies. So I would just use it to troll him left and right? So our other mutual friend who I know that you know, Shayla Cook, posted a Chumbawamba song that was called, it's called Nazis. And it's kind of an anti-Nazi song, and it's done as like a traditional Irish folk song. She posted it on my Facebook and tagged JJ just to piss him off, right? And I started listening to it. And I'm like, this is really good. Now I remembered that there was a podcast in the early days of podcasting. God, I don't even remember when it was. It was a show called Surprisingly Awesome that was that did a whole episode about Chumbawamba. And here's the thing. They were an anarchist collective, and they did all kinds of weird art stuff. So I have gone down a Chumbawamba hole, and I'm listening to a lot of their music. Like, they have a song on one of their first, I think it might be their second or third album, called Give the Anarchist a Cigarette. And it's really great. Their music is awesome. It's the 90s-ist stuff. I can't believe it wasn't on the Trainspotting soundtrack. It's so freaking 90s. But I'm just finding that it's like it's a really fun listen. It's, even though I never listened to them before, it's kind of like a nostalgia for a style of music, a style of kind of danceable pop music, but like with like very, very heavy themes. And there's like real thought behind it. And I would recommend anyone check out Surprisingly Awesome episode 4, which was one of Gimlet's early podcasts, to kind of get the full story on Chumbawamba, because I had forgotten about it, but it's just kind of funny because, yeah, I mean, Tub Thumping is like not necessarily, it's not a song that I seek out all the time. And, it's basically a song about getting drunk. It's not really that, it's not very deep. And it's like they probably were able to ride that song out for the next, 15 years. They broke up, I think, in 2012, amicably. So you can't see them live, but
and Chumbawamba isn't it like a whole bunch of them? It was like, yes. The band was like pretty big.
It's a pretty big band, and they have a lot of albums. And they have a live album, but I would encourage anyone to check out their song Nazis, which is kind of a protest song about Nazis. Didn't used to be a controversial stance to take, but I'm staunchly anti-Nazi, and so are they. But there's a lot more thinking going on in Chumbawamba, and if you have this is the beauty of having music streaming, is that you can just kind of listen to every album by a band that you're kind of interested in, and they're definitely a band I wish I would have bought all their albums. I think they're really good. So Kays, where can people find you? Because I only every week tell people where to find you, but where can people find you if they want to interact with you online or whatever?
I'm actually gonna. I think I mentioned this like when I was with Ilya a few weeks ago, and I'm gonna mention it again. I started this YouTube channel called Kays Labs. It's all one word, Kays Labs, and it's a channel about me repairing synths. I got like a whole bunch of like vintage synths behind me.
Is that what that Star Trek Enterprise looking crap behind you is?
That's exactly what it is. That's what it is. Like they're all like 40, 50-year-old synths behind me. And I just started repairing them because I don't know, I got like really sucked into it, and I really like it. I love it. I mean, I think it's something I really enjoy. It's like literally like my model train type of hobby. And I figure, okay, let me document what I'm doing and show people what it is that I'm doing. And I don't know, I'm trying to grow the channel. So even if you're not like a huge synth person, but you want to maybe like subscribe to it just to put me a little bit higher on
just
the YouTube.
Get you higher on the algorithm. And of course you can find me at benrock.com, where very little has changed in the last couple of years, but hopefully I have a couple of projects on the horizon. Hopefully I can add more crap to that website. So before we go, let's thank some people. Would you like to thank people, or would you like me to thank people? Because I know their names.
I want to start thanking Alana Cody, just because of the fact that she always brings about the most awesome guests. And I know that I've done this before to you. I will like message you saying, oh, you guys should have like this person on the show. And next thing you know, like you guys got that
all the time. You're constantly reaching out to me and saying like, yeah, I saw this thing. Check it out. Yeah.
So she's fantastic.
She is.
Congrats.
Couldn't have done better.
Mm-mm.
And well, we should definitely thank our editor, Charlie Nix. And last but never least, we got to thank you, my friend, for providing all the music that we use on this show all those many years ago. And you did do an update of it, and Ilya and I have been like for literally over a year unable to schedule a time to go over the stuff that you did, about possibly doing some more music. But anyway, we love your music, big fan, and we can push people to Kays Labs on YouTube, but also I would like to say go to musicbykays.com. Listen to some of Kays' music, hire him to compose a score for you, because it's what he's great at. And apparently he could do it on some vintage synths and make some sounds that you're not going to get out of any goofwad MIDI libraries. Doesn't matter. The
plugins cannot sound like these guys.
That's so cool. That really is cool. All right, well,
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it.
Well, Kays, would you like to take us out?
I will take everybody out and say thank you so much for listening and watching, and we'll see you on the next show.
This has been the Cinematography Podcast, presented by Hot Rod Cameras. Find your next camera, lens, or accessory on the web at hotrodcameras.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our show on iTunes and connect with us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks for listening.